Hey, welcome to this lesson video for using Excel mathematically. It's going to be a little different than our normal lesson video. In your Chromebook, the first thing you want to do, obviously we're not going to use Excel because we have Chrome. We're going to use Google Drive's version of Excel. No biggie, it'll work basically the same for what we're doing. So on your Chromebook in the bottom left corner, you want to click on this symbol to open up your Drive account. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to create a spreadsheet. So for example, once you log in and you've clicked on your Drive icon, you should see a screen like this, almost exact, maybe not as many folders. But what you want to do is you want to click Create a Spreadsheet. Okay, you're going to click on that and something like this will open up. Okay, I've already made a document for this video, but you'll go ahead and create and it'll look something like this. Obviously, you wouldn't have this text here. First thing I'd like you to do though, for the sake of when we share your document with me at the end, let's go ahead and rename this. So how I'd like you to name it, I'm going to name it as if I were a student. I'd put my last name, first initial, Excel. Okay, so whatever your last name is, your first initial, and then Excel. That's how I'd like you to save this spreadsheet. And how this video is going to work. I'm going to give you some demos of what to do, and then I'm going to have you add pages to this spreadsheet in which you'll do problems for me, and then this spreadsheet you'll share with me. Okay, so the first example I want to show you, something that's going to be very useful and we're going to use quite a lot, is how to use Excel to create a list of numbers. So if I wanted to create a list of numbers 0 to 100, so like 0, 1, 2, I'm not going to sit here and type all 100 numbers in, okay? That's kind of silly. So Excel, is kind of like a calculator, okay? So let's say I start at the number 0. Obviously the next number I want would be 1. So how do I get to 1 from 0? Well, I take 0 and I add 1 to it. If I'm at 1 and I want to get to 2, I take 1 and I add 1 to it, okay? We're going to use an equation in Excel that's going to say, hey, you got to have an equal to, by the way, or else it won't work, okay? Take the previous number, notice how I just clicked on the previous cell, and add 1 to it, and it gives me 1. Now you'll be like, ooh, wow, that's really cool. It is, because take a look, this fill handle, if I drag it down, it automatically does the rest of the numbers for me. So let's say I want to go 0 to 20, okay? There it is. There would be my list of numbers. Okay? Let's say I wanted to make a list of numbers that count by 3. So 0, 3, 6, 9, okay? Every third number. I want to start at 0 again, but this time, to get from 0 to 3, I took the previous number and I added 3 to it. Okay? So if I do this fill handle, I should get all the multiples of 3. They added 3 each time. Okay? So that's just the first demo I wanted to do. You could make a list of even numbers, you could make a list of odd numbers, and that's actually what I'm going to have you do. Now, I have sheets already made at the bottom of my page. On your first sheet, okay, so this is the first blank sheet that should have popped up when you opened your document. I'm going to first ask you to rename it. So you click that little arrow and you go up to rename, and let's rename this Problems 1 and 2. So on this sheet, you're going to put 2 problems. And I'm just going to have you mimic this page, all right? In column A, I would like you to list all of the numbers, even numbers, 0 to 50. And in fact, let me make that all caps so you catch that. Even numbers in column A, 0 to 50. Do not type it by hand, 0, 2, 4. I'll be able to tell when I look at your spreadsheet. I want to see the equation like I made in mine. Okay? In column B, I'd like you to list all of the, and let me bold that. Not bold it, but caps it. All of the odd numbers, 1 to 51. So again, I don't want you to go 1, 3, 5. I want you to type the first number, make the equation, and then drag it down. I'm going to be looking for the equation, okay? So that's problems 1 and 2. If you need to pause here, you can. I'm going to keep going with my next demo. The next thing I'd like to show you is how to sum up a block of cells. And I actually just kind of made this in a little scenario for us. Let's say you're planning a wedding, and here are some of the expenses that you have to pay. Banquet hall, church, linens, dress, honeymoon, just a few things out of the many. You're expecting 230 guests. Now, what I want to do is I want to add up all these numbers. Now, yeah, you could grab a calculator, but why when Excel can do it for you and you're already in Excel? The only thing is you notice this blank cell. That's about your caterer, your food, $19.99 per person, and you're expecting 230 people. So, again, you could grab a calculator, but just let Excel do it. To figure out how much money you're spending, obviously, you take the price times how many people you have, which, notice the asterisk is the multiplication in Excel. And when I hit enter, it calculates it for me. Now, to get Excel to sum all of these numbers, it has a sum formula. So you hit equals and you type sum parenthesis, and I'm going to tell it add this number. So I clicked it, but now I'm going to click and hold as I drag. I'm going to tell it to sum that block of numbers, end parenthesis, and when you hit enter, oh no, why didn't it go? Sum of B5. Hang on a second. Okay, let me try this again. I think I might have tried to redo this too many times and I messed it up. Okay, so $19.99, I gotta backtrack real quick. So there's how much I spent on food. So then the total of what I've spent so far on my wedding, let's say I want to sum from this number all the way down to the honeymoon number. So when I hit equal, there we go, it adds it up for me. Now, one thing that we can do is format these numbers. So go up to format, number, and let's do currency with 2 decimal places since we have some change. And so that way my numbers just look nice, like they should when you're dealing with money, okay? So here's my example. Add a sheet to add problem 3. So go to this button and click it. It'll pop up as sheet 2. Okay, I'd like you to first rename sheet 2 as problem 3. Okay, and then you're just going to reconstruct, whatever of this page that you need to. You don't have to really redo my directions. This time you're talking about a graduation party. Notice here the postage for invitations. You're expecting 150 invitations to go out. So you're going to do the equation to autofill that amount and then do your sum, and then make sure at the end you change to currency like I did, okay? So if you need to pause here to copy this down in your spreadsheet, you can. I'm going to do my next demo. Okay. She's working a little slow today. We got that spinning wheel of death. Oh, there we go. Okay, so calculating interest, so kind of like what we're learning right now by hand, we're going to use Excel to help us out. You have saved $515 and you decided you want to start a savings account at Chase. With your account, you'll earn 0.25% interest each year. How much will be in the account after 30 years if it remains untouched? So at year 0, our starting point, we're starting with 515 bucks. Now, the next year, how much is going to be in my account? Well, 515, which I started with, plus 0.25% of 515 is going to be added, okay? So how do we do that in Excel? Well, first convert your percent to a decimal. So, you need 2 decimal places to the left. So that's my percent in decimal form times the 515. So this sum here will be my new total at year 1. So after I've had this account for a year, my new balance would be a whopping, $1.29 more. Yeah, we're saving, okay? But it might seem trivial, but after a while, so many years, you could, wrap up quite a bit in interest depending on your rate. So let's see. If I drag this down to 30 years, so notice how I made the consecutive numbers starting at 0, though, to 30. Holy cats, why am I having troubles? Did I not grab the fill handle? Let me see. I might not have grabbed the little crossbar. Well, No, here's the problem. I wanted to show you, okay? Obviously, I need to do my formula a little different because when I dragged it down, yeah, it's just doing the same thing over and over. Okay, so here's what we need to do. We don't want to type in 515. We want to type the previous cell. So the previous year plus my percent, change to a decimal, times that previous year. Let me just type it in, C7. Okay, so then that way when I do my drag handle, my little fill handle here, let's make sure a couple of them change. Yeah, see what it's doing at year 2, it's taking C8, so it's taking the year 1 value and then adding the interest onto that. And then in this cell, it's taking C9, so it's taking year 2 value and adding interest to that. Okay, so you can't just type in the numbers. We need to use the cell blocks. That's why that happened that first time. So it's worthwhile to show you so you can see what you need to do. So now that my equation's set up properly, you can see, okay, so we don't get a lot in interest over 30 years, but we gain a little bit. Some is better than none. Okay, so if you need to pause here, you can, but I'd like you to add another sheet, and it should be sheet 3 when you do that, but rename it to, oops, sorry, I changed sheets. Sheet 3, rename it to problem 4. Okay, and on problem 4, you can retype this in if you'd like. You've saved $375. You decide you want to start a savings account at First Merit. With your account, you'll earn 0.33% interest each year. How much will be in the account after 25 years if it remains untouched? Okay, so remember you want 0 to 25, so make that list. You're starting with, at year 0, $375. Okay. And then calculate your interest. You know, remember, use the previous cell block. Don't type in 375, or when you drag it, you'll get the same number like that happened for me that first time, okay? So year 0 to 25, and then you'll tell me what you ended with that interest rate, okay? Now, also add another sheet. I don't have another demo for you, just another problem. This one's kind of cool. So when you add another sheet, it should be sheet 4 for you. Rename it to problem 5. Sorry, you can't see mine. Well, there we go. Now we can see it. Rename it to problem 5. And here's your question. You're planning to go on a world tour in a year and a half. You decided to start saving money for the trip. You have this great idea to put so much money away each week. In week 1, you save $1. In week 2, you add $2 to that a till. In week 3, you add $3 to what you've had saved so far. So for whatever week you are in, that's how much you're adding to your savings each week, okay? So how much money will you have saved in 1 year? Remember that there are 52 weeks in a year. So at week 1, you're saving $1. Whoops. Week 2, you're going to add $2 to that. In week 3, you'll add $3 to that total so far, okay? So notice I've got it going all the way down to 52. So once you figure out the equation that you need, just drag it down to 52, and then that number in B62, whatever number that would be for me, in block B62, would be how much I saved in a year. See if it was worth it or not. Okay, so just these 5 questions. Make sure you share it with me at the end. And that's going to be it for me, guys. Have fun, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.